Good evening. Hello, everybody. How are you? Dr. Rao here. Welcome. We've been talking about corporate wellness of late, right? So, there was a friend of mine who um, hosted me to talk to his group about corporate wellness. And we talked last Saturday, I think, on LinkedIn audio. So, we're going to talk about true benefits of yoga next Saturday on LinkedIn Live Audio. But meanwhile, I was uh, asked by some companies about uh, the way my program benefits them. So I kind of told them how by really understanding corporate culture, the stressors, the stress and burnout that people go through, some of the things that I learned from the combination of hacks of ancient wisdom and modern principles of stress reduction, we kind of made people more resilient, not only in terms of dealing with their ability with the stress and burnout, but also enhancement of the productivity by how they become more focused, um, more enjoying and contributing, serving the institutions, and all those things, right? So, all in all, your stress will really go down and your productivity will go up because you are working on yourself. So, uh, that's what I was telling them. So it's a question of corporate wellness enhanced mainly because we take care of the corporate culture's weaknesses, stress points, and really contributing to the wellness of the individual and also the group of departments that people are working in the corporation, right? So as I was saying, we were talking about corporate wellness the other day, and a lot of questions came my way about how this program really helps individual and then seeps into the group of people in the corporation. So that's something I kind of employed in my own corporation when I was, hi Greg, welcome. So when I was doing that multi-doctor group and we were having a lot of nurses come and go, and we have a turnover rate of the nurses because nurses are in hard demand, and whenever we train good nurses, they are stolen by our hospital. We could do anything because they are paying much more than what we could afford to. So we had to really take care of our nurses and LPNs and other people for fear of losing them. But not only that, I wanted to provide a unique work atmosphere where people are really nurtured. That was my word. I wanted to develop the nurturing atmosphere, which we did. I had a simple thing I employed was most of the time I kind of interviewed them and selected them. So when I selecting them, apart from the package and all that they get, the routine things, I had a special thing. I kind of people thought I was crazy, but still I thought that is a touch from our management. What was that? Was I asked them a question: What is that you want to be in life? How could we be helpful for you? Suppose somebody comes in as a medical assistant, but she has um, dreams or aims of becoming a master's or a bachelor's in nursing, and she wants to pursue that. And we kind of gave her some money that she could take her to, or some other provisions we provided for her that makes it easier for her. And then I also talk to them about that on and off over the period of the nursing career, right? and they appreciated that very much, and they returned back with a very loyal work and also gave us enough notification if they are moving to somewhere else. So all that helped a lot, so treat them like family, and then they will behave like family, and they do it. It was mostly um, realized. Some people were not that kind, but that's okay. That's them. But we didn't want to change our style, especially me. So that gave me a lot of satisfaction and happiness to see somebody else is growing up in their career, and we are really paying attention to them. And also a lot of relationship problems when they had, they were able to confess to me and tell me, and then I was able to direct them certain way, which seemed to have helped them. There was more like a friend listening, for more like a older than them, taking care of them like a big brother, something like that. Kindness, compassion, and this SMET program, stress management for excessive tension, which I developed during the implementation of our EMR in the hospital, for the doctors, for the nurses, and also the trainers. The nurses who were training the EMR, we kind of gave them that. So that was my baby, actually. So people really had had really appreciated that. So currently, I was working on the comprehensive self-care that is really given to IT professionals and physicians to some extent, and also company leaders. Okay, mostly based on the four pillars of wellness and also servant leadership, right? So these really helped people to um, really develop inner resilience, which they brought to their career, job, and also their relationships and their own personal questions about life and all that, right? So they were able to correct some of them, and then they were able to have a better attitude about their work and about other things too. So that reduced a lot of sick days, and that also gave people energy to work better and feel better about the work, things like that. Okay, so I was able to at least help people to reduce on their own absenteeism, sick days, lack of morale, or personal conflicts, those kind of things. Okay, so I was very happy to see that in some of the hospitals, some of the departments I worked in. So over the years, we improved that, and then that has evolved into a coaching for burnout for the physicians and the nurses, which is very high. It started more like oh, Dr. They call me Dr. Kulsu in the hospitals, basically. The Kulsu talks about these things. Let's go and talk to him. And people came informally, just for counseling, for suggestions, and all that. I was more than happy to indulge in them. And as I was studying ancient wisdom and studied about mind, about um, really spirituality and all that, it was natural for me to listen to them and engage them and give them some insights about what I was learning. And lots of cases they did say that was good, but some people really applied and then got the benefit too. So as I saw the treatment of burnout outside, and as I saw more and more people are burning out, I found very value with what I was talking about, because the systems in the West were based on thought. And uh, if you are having problems because of the thought structure, any system devised out of the thought structure is not going to help us, right? So we are thinking too much. If you want to think more, the problem is getting worse. But if you have measures where you don't think much, but think appropriately, not that thinking is bad and then you should put it away. No, thinking is appropriate in certain things, scientific investigations and outward comforts and all that. That's pretty good. But when you turn that towards how somebody is feeling, somebody is valuing, all those inner matters, uh, thought is awfully inadequate, and also it could cause problems too. So my style of being silent with the thought most of the time and using thought consciously whenever you want, and not really carrying out the thought. That's the thing. Okay. Today morning, something came up, and I was telling my students that they should do three things every day. They are learning them in the class, but I want to make sure that they are applying them and they go out of the class. The first thing was now there was clinging to thought. Okay, so finish it off, whatever you are doing, whatever you are thinking of, finish it off and then move on. Okay, don't allow the thought to be lingering on unconsciously or cyclical thought. That is the problem, cyclical thought. I was talking to them about it. That means be in the present, be here and now. And if you are with something like a, suppose you are sitting in a garden and you don't have to, marinate in the thinking process, but open up your mind, open up your senses, feel the sunshine, feel the air, listen to those leaves or birds or water, whatever that is there. If you are in a tropical area or warm sunny area, or if you are in a winter area, you cannot sit there. Probably you can take a walk, and as you're taking a walk, you can look at the ice and snow in its own beauty. So many ways of you can be with the nature instead of being immersed in your cyclical thought. So it's always better to finish it off, and then if you want to take it up, when you want to take it up, you can take it up. That technique helped me a lot because we could be easily overwhelmed with so much of patient data, discussions, and communications. So much happens with us. Okay, I kind of sometimes count. I talk at least 50 to 60 people in a day, either the patients or with the patient's relatives, insurance companies, administrators, my own colleagues, nurses, doctors, and all that, right? So that's plenty of data lots of time. And also you go and read upon these things and catch up with the CME, go to the meetings, so many activities we do them, right? So all that is helped by, if you are in a meeting, I only want to deal with that meeting purpose, meeting goings, and also what are the conclusions. And after that, once it's documented in a device and a paper, all that, I don't have to go on that continuous unless it's very, very important, very, very, life and death situation, right? Having that kind of attitude helps a lot for the doctor, especially. So I always talk to my physician colleagues just to be one at a time and one thought at a time, one activity at a time, something. It's kind of impossible in the beginning, but then as they get the real idea of it, they kind of master that, and then they are very happy with it. Otherwise, unnecessarily, you're going to have the brain fog. Right? That's what I kind of enjoy about that. So this corporation, they when they will train them, when they apply these principles, they can see the morale has gone up, and the involvement of the doctors or whoever working, other IT people, they are focusing one at a time. So you all know that I'm not for the multitasking, but I do. several tasks in a series, but each task is completely focused. Then things get done better, and you don't have this demand of so many tasks at the same time, because mind can take only one at a time. Remember that. If you can understand that, employ that principle, you don't invite all the other things unnecessarily. These days, it is much more difficult because so many interruptions, so many distractions, right? By design, you are given constant, intermittent, intruding distractions. Especially if you are involved with a serious case, or the serious surgery or anything like that, you want all your attention right there, right? Most of the people train like that, and then they apply for the work. But then when they come out, they don't do that for the social media. They don't do it for the relationships and all that. That's when they get what we call vagabond of thought. The thought becomes the vagabond, goes all over, right? And that's not really good. So if you want to allow that to happen for so many hours, then you want to meditate for 15, 20 minutes. Even then, that gives you some relief. But these days, most of the people can't even sit down for a few minutes and then not to think anything. So that's what I teach people. I enjoy the silence most of the day, but I use the conscious that whenever I have to work, I have to write, I have to do something, I do that. But up beyond that, I kind of enjoy my silence of the mind. You know, if you look at the one film, J. Krishnamurti with a silent mind, that's where I kind of got exposed to that. And then I found out so many yogis, so many people in the ancient times, they are always enjoying the silence, whether they are in the middle of people, middle of activity, or they are in the Himalayas or very quiet places where in the beginning, maybe you want to train in the places where there's not that much of activity, thought, and all that. But after uh, you have really mastered it, that the challenge is to come and test yourself among the life, among the civilization. I know one guy, he tried in two places, most busiest places on the earth, I believe. One is in New York, the what is that place? Where all the kind of hubs are there in the around Wall Street, right? And then in Japan, in Tokyo, I believe, a lot of Russians there also. These two places, he went and stood there, and as the throng of people going around him, he was trying to be in his silent space in his mind. And that's a good text, very very good test, I think. Anyway, that is possible. It's called solitude of mind. So, where the mind is alone, mind is really not generating currents of cyclical thought, but rather have a thought, complete it, and then catch the, at the end of it the silence. Okay, so these kind of things are taught in the corporations too. And I was also introducing a concept called wellness oasis. So these people are introduced to what are the things that they could do that will have their natural enjoyment, and wellness is really, uh, you know, done very well for people. And then they are kind of enjoy that, once they get used to that. So there's a whole lot we do with the corporations that will help them to develop this inner resilience, this silence, this morale boosting encouragement. That is because of the service attitude I bring in. Okay, instead of salesy, instead of trying to be transactional, if you are oriented to service, that is, you become a servant leader, then you kind of bring in a very good morale to the group, and you could really contribute to the friendships, to the relationships quite a lot, because you are coming there to add value or to really help people to um, be providing service, and then they were getting benefit from that too. So I feel like that when I come and I want to serve some people, like here you guys, I feel good if I can give some value. But you don't have to say anything. Also, I'm giving is my thing, and that's good. That is you get to try it out in a society like present society all over the world, not just in America. What is happening is people who give by themselves, and actually they feel good also. That giving itself is getting. That's kind of thing we are always doing that. Okay. So I hope that's not too far off, because you still get your compensation, all those things. But apart from that, you have not seen some of the corrupt practices like in some of the third world countries do. That may not be there, but whether you work here because like a hospitality industry, the hotels I go to, right, lots of times for the conferences, for the work and all that, we go to different cities and go to the different hotels. And usually you see those people are very hospitable. They have a nice smile, and then they invite you and all that. But they may not be feeling that inside. That's the critical thing. Okay. So if you are really enjoying the guests and really welcoming them with the whole heart, you can feel it. And then when you feel that, it is really helpful to your inner self, right? So that's what I'm talking about. So there are so many other things that we do for the corporations, and then I have a whole lot on corporate wellness that we wrote about, filmed about, and made a couple of movies too. So I wanted to bring that up because there was my friend Anderson. We began talk about corporate wellness, and he wanted me to talk to his group, and I was going to do that. But we kind of got into the discussion of corporate wellness in America, and how some of the ancient culture has got to do with the present corporate culture here. You know, so there was a gentleman called Chanakya, and this man was very famous in the corporations here because they follow his economic theory of all people. Okay, I was very surprised when I found out. I know about him. I know his brilliance in what's called Ardha Shastra. That means a scientific study of economy, something like that. But at the time, he was presenting it because mathematics took root in India, ancient India, and then they were doing astronomy. They were doing a lot of mathematics and all that, right? He wrote this book after he was actually a prime minister, and he was insulted by there were some few kings with the same kingdom, brothers, right? They insult him and they get him out. So he swears on them, and they says, "I'm going to take revenge on that." And later on, he grooms a very ordinary commoner and into real king-like material, and declares war on these people who threw him out, and then removes them and installs this guy. And this guy expands the empire so much. He's the widest empire in that time of the India, right? And what Chanakya does is he doesn't go and occupy any position there, but he stays back in the forest, and then he writes these beautiful books that guided not only corporations, government institutions, all that for ages, right? But his thing is he's very psychologically independent. He doesn't depend upon laurels, or he doesn't depend upon the whatever statuses, money, and all that. All that he wanted to do was contribute to the life of the human being so that they become self-reliant and also they manage the wealth and everything that they make better. He doesn't have to have any wealth. That's the psychological independence that he had. And he talked about corporate wellness in their terms. We're calling corporation now, but at the time it was only like a congregation of people managing any number of organizations. Different culture, different times, different. That's true. But some of the hacks were taken out and then put into this corporate culture here. So I was able to read about that and know about that, and I was very impressed. But then a lot of those principles are there if you are a real depth reader on yoga and other healing systems that were there in the ancient India. Okay, so I was going to talk about that with these corporations when I talk to them, because if you are mechanical, if you are reductionist, if you are just using your intellect, this may not make sense. But if you are a human being, intuitive, heartful, then these make a lot of sense. Because when you behave like that with other people, not only you become a very valid king and really a reputable king with them, but also you are more like a real friend and patron, somebody who is going to encourage people, and thereby your psychological health is better, and then you kind of help morale and work conditions or work habits, all those things, right? So it's a win-win situation mostly. I kind of grasped a hold of that and then developed some principles. Don't react, but respond to things. Reflect and relax, and then really identify larger goals than your immediate selfish goals. All those principles are very valuable to the corporate culture. Okay, so look to that. I will be presenting a detailed account of that, and then see whether it will appeal to you guys. Okay. I am going to give this to the companies I'm going to work with, especially hospitals, hospital systems, mostly at the executive level, mostly at C level probably. But then doctors, several of them, they have their own offices that are big enough that they need to have these principles too. So that is how it started. Okay. Uh, so that's about it, I think, for today. Anybody has any questions or want to come up, then I will stay. Otherwise, I'll be closing it in a couple of minutes. Okay, then I will see you back tomorrow. Okay, bye bye.